Secret Mom Hacks, episode number 92. My name is Krista, and I'm your host. It's November 6th, 2024. And friends, I am really happy to report I am officially a marathoner. Yes, woohoo! This past Sunday, I finally made it through my first marathon. If you caught last week's episode, I shared a tribute to my love for running in anticipation of this past weekend's marathon. This is a goal I have been working towards for over a year now. It was derailed last year due to a running injury, and I'm really happy that I finally checked this off my list, especially with a big milestone birthday just around the corner here in a little over a month, or right at a month as of the airing of this episode. If you missed last week's episode, I highly encourage you to go check it out. I think you can hear all about why I love running and why my passion for running. Hey, I know not everybody is going to run a marathon. It takes a lot of dedication and time and training towards that big goal. But for me, it all started with running a 5K. That is just a little over 3 miles. And you know what? A couple of months ago, my daughter actually ended up running right around 3 miles in a dash that her school did. So I'm hoping she continues to find enjoyment in running. Anyway, go check out last week's episode if you haven't caught it quite yet. I know not everyone is going to run a marathon, and that is a-okay, but if I can inspire one person to get up off the couch, go get in a couple steps, maybe cross that mile or 2 mile threshold, then that is a win to me. I never imagined a couple of years ago that I would have the passion and joy and excitement around running that I do now, but it all started with just that simple decision to lace up those shoes and go jog for a mile or for 30 minutes or just that first little starting point. That's all it took. And little by little, it has accumulated now into my very fierce passion and joy for running and this decision to finally go for that marathon. So, yay. Okay, on to today's episode. We're taking a short walk down memory lane with one of my former coworkers in the music industry. Her name is Haley Montgomery, and we used to work together for one of the country music trade associations here in Nashville, Tennessee. While our life journeys have taken us different directions, we've stayed in touch and are now both mamas to precious little girls. Haley continues to juggle a full-time music industry career with Momlife and all the things that come with it. Her experience, along with observing other parents' obstacles who are working in the music industry, compelled her to co-found FAM, which is short for Family Alliance in Music. The music industry, known for its fast pace, long hours, and oftentimes constant travel, can be brutal to navigate as a parent. But Haley's mission is clear. Through FAM, Haley and her fellow co-founders seek to help parents in music find balance, support, and community while continuing to pursue their professional passions. So on today's episode, we're going to talk about the unique challenges faced by parents in this creative field, the importance of having a support network, and how Family Alliance in Music is helping to empower parents to thrive both at home and in their careers. Whether you're a parent working in music or just juggling a career and family life, you don't want to miss this conversation. But before we get into that, I just want to say, thanks for tuning in, Mama. I started this podcast because babies don't come with instructions. As of this recording, I'm chasing around a 6-year-old that no amount of Googling, mom groups, or books were able to prepare me for. There's a lot of stuff people don't talk about when it comes to pre-pregnancy, during pregnancy, postpartum, parenthood, and as someone who was previously terrified of all of the above, I'm here to help you pull back the curtain on all of it. And every now and then it may get a little messy. We may share a little TMI, but that's why you're here, right? My goal is you'll leave every episode feeling refreshed, inspired, and hopeful, knowing you're not on this mom journey alone. Now, there's a lot of subject matter to cover when it comes to mom life, and we are covering it all. If you're not following this podcast yet, make sure you hit that follow or subscribe button wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss a single episode. Now, let's jump into this conversation with Haley Montgomery with Family Alliance in Music. I am so excited to have you on Secret Mom Hacks with us today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited. You've started this and it's doing so well and can't wait to talk to you.
Thank you. As I've been on this journey, I have met so many amazing moms since starting this whole podcasting thing. But it's always fun when I get to reconnect and have a fun conversation with somebody from my past. So we both have this fun music industry past. You are still in it.
Still trying, girl.
Which we're going to talk about some of that today in the conversation, this amazing organization you started. And in fact, Haley and I used to work for the same organization, which is awesome. So happy our paths crossed there. We're now both kind of in different stages. She's in a different organization. I'm now in a whole different career path, but we're going to talk about lots of fun mom stuff today. I say fun. We're going to talk about some heavy stuff today, some serious stuff. You're here to inform parents about this incredible organization that you've launched, and B, a situation that you unfortunately have experienced, and now regardless with both of them, you want to get the word out to as many parents as possible. So before we dive into the questions, is there anything you want to share with our listener about you and a little bit about your background and where you are quickly? And then we're going to jump into a whole host of conversation.
Honestly, the organizations have become so close to who I am. I think as we dive in, you'll get to know who I am. But basically, came into the music industry and just had a really different perspective on it. Not because like I was born to be a mom, but my mom was a nurse, a neonatal nurse, also was the director of a women's and children's hospital, was always very active in maternity rights and family planning and all of that. So I've just always had that lens. And what I was so stunned by coming into the music industry is that she was such a badass and a boss and like still had us. And I've never questioned that. And then I came into the career I was in and started noticing less and less people with kids and started noticing less and less support programs. And it was like, just from the very beginning, I mean, I even remember when you were pregnant, seeing it and seeing what you went through and the policy you had at that time. And it definitely encouraged me to get to the place I'm at now and to the very beginnings of what is now FAM.
I love it. I can't wait for us to dive into this. I had so many fun, amazing pinch me, bucket list, dream list opportunities and projects that I had the privilege of being a part of. And well, we're not going to get into my whole backstory. A lot of my listeners know the backstory. I was married, no kids at that time. And then I had a little one and also moved further out into the burbs. And that got really dicey and difficult just to manage it all. So I am excited for us to jump into what you're doing. I wish it had existed when I was in the music industry.
Well, you kind of help inspired it if it makes you feel better. I mean, honestly, like truly all the moms that came before me and me seeing what they had to go through is the only reason it came to my attention that we needed it.
So let's dive into it. It's Family Alliance in Music, or FAM for short. I love that. You co-founded FAM to support parents in the music industry. So let's dive in a little deeper. What inspired you to start this nonprofit?
Yeah, I mean, truly, I was coming into the industry. I had this unique lens. I think in my soul, like I knew I wanted kids at some point, but also I just have like a really soft spot for mothers and parenting and all of that because of how I was raised. And so I was noticing like at that company at the time, and then companies for me that came after, the maternity leave was sad, very sad, very minimal. Also, just this like, I don't know, this undercurrent I felt of like, oh, you chose family. And I was like, I see dads. No one's acting like that about them. They're like patting them on the back, like, oh, you must be so tired in this meeting. Like, they have shitty leave. They have all these same issues. Why is there this like, oh, but like she's tapped out, you know? And I just didn't like it. I did not like it. And I was hearing also during that time about people starting to try to fight for better at some of these companies. And I talked to them about that and what that looked like. And I was lucky enough that I was handed down some of the collective information that someone had gathered about what leave looked like at different music companies. And that helped me be like, oh, there are clear differences here. And it's not what you would think were the differences. Some of it is the biggest companies are the ones that are not playing ball to make it a really friendly institution for this. And so I continued to grow that while I was kidless, just because I wanted to like understand like where I was going. And truly, like pre-COVID, I just had this moment of like, I had a job opportunity and I was like, if I take this, I kind of think it is like my sign that I'm not supposed to have kids. And then when COVID hit and I lost that, I was like, no, like I don't want to leave the industry, but I do want to have kids. And so I really grew that list of what do maternity and paternity leave and family leave policies look like in our industry, and grew it to 25. And then I saw Jackie Jones just on Instagram because she has a great job at the RIAA. She is the person that comes and hands you the platinum record. Like when you see her face, you know you've done good in the music industry. And she's posting her kid actively, like not just like, I have a kid on the side. She's bringing that kid to meet Dolly Parton. She is in it. She is active. And I was like, wow, like that, how is that possible? So I asked her to go get biscuits. And it's funny because we now call our meetings biscuit meetings, but we met and she thought I was trying to ask about what she did for work. And I was like, that's great. But also I'd just like to know, how do you have a kid and work in the industry? And she had questions because in her past and in her current, she has really amazing maternity leave. Her former employer helped her pay for IVF and just really amazing things. And so I whipped out my handy dandy spreadsheet and was like, here's the average across our industry. At least 25 companies in the industry don't even provide enough time for a mother to heal. And as a young person who's considering having a family, this says to me, it's not welcome. And so she was super alarmed. She was like, we're going to stay tuned. We're going to do more with this. She brought in Margaret Hart, who's with Google and YouTube. And Margaret apparently had talked to Jackie just about how the industry is not a super family friendly place in general, right? As you know, the hours are not made for a typical nuclear family, at least not the kind that we grew up seeing. And so, but they did not know about this piece of how it was speaking to the younger generation that didn't see good benefits and that had a mindset for planning. And so they said that they had started to hear this undercurrent, but they obviously, it was an issue. So we decided to start FAM. Our first step was just creating a deck that, without giving names, sort of gave data on what the average was, what we would recommend, what's normal, what Fortune 500 companies offer, what other music companies offer in general, and start sharing that. And so this happened for 2 years behind the scenes. We were just having these small meetings individually with companies. And from that, we luckily changed 7 companies, updated their policies to have better benefits, which we're really proud of. But we were not public facing. It was truly word of mouth. And so this past fall or past spring, we decided to publicly launch. And that just happened on Instagram. We reached out to a few people who had sent us encouraging notes and said, really seemed like they were behind us. And we just asked them on this particular day if you could just post a picture of your family and say, tell a little bit about your family and then a graphic and link back to FAM. Great. We expected maybe 10 to 15 people to do it. We had gosh, nearly 100 people. And it wasn't just in Nashville, it was across the US, like a few international as well. And so I would love to take credit for that, but that's just, what does that freaking say? That says we need community. And so
Absolutely.
FAM wants to do a lot of things, right? Like we want to be able to give grants, we want to be able to hold educational panels, and we're starting to do some of those things. But the biggest thing we started on and what we want to do is provide examples of what this could look like, and just show that even though it's not what you grew up with, there are people out there doing it, and if that's what you really want, you can do it too.
So exciting, Haley. Like I said, I wish this had been culminating during my time in the music industry, because it certainly could have helped to have just made things a whole lot more go more smoothly for
Yeah,
me and for
yeah.
our family. So I love what you're doing. You touched on it, the unconventional schedules and challenges. It really can be a 24/7 thing, the music industry. So, how does FAM help parents find this balance between careers and family life? And what resources does FAM offer to support this?
We're still building, even though we've been around for 3 years. We're all working moms. So I really count this year as our active year because we've become more public and really had the help and also the pressure to continue to expand. So the number one thing I always say is I don't want to sugarcoat this, right? It's a decision. It is a decision that you're going to have a little bit of a harder lifestyle. Like you're taking on more work, you're taking on a different perception. I mean, God, just becoming a mother in general, I think that itself is enough of a big decision for any young woman or man to make. And, but what FAM is providing and what I think we excel in is the stories of people who have found a new way to balance and ask them for their examples. One of our task force members went on maternity leave. She is the COO of a company. And so this just looks very different for her because she can't take true leave like Margaret would be able to because she's at Google and they shut your email off, right? So we did an interview with her and we were like, okay, so what's your boundary? And she had an hour once a week where everybody knew they could get a hold of her and she was checking emails, but it had to fit in that time or whatever it was, just to show it is different. This isn't going to be, I wish I could say you totally could lift your hands up and get the maternity leave that you deserve, but you did choose to be in the music industry or choose to be in a different kind of role. So there's going to be some compromise. It's more so just showing different blueprints so people can make their own and so they can know. Because I think a lot of people who are watching us don't even have families, they're just interested in it. Just showing, oh, people have figured it out. Trying to take away some of these milestones that young people are setting ahead of themselves that is unfortunately leading to them losing their fertility windows or setting boundaries in their mind that don't allow them to think about what they want for their life in the future.
What are a couple success stories or testimonials from parents that you can share so far?
Yeah, again, it's so hard to give like the exact success story, but we get all kinds of stories. I think one of the most interesting things and something that's really come forward to us is like, we think of how hard the music industry is automatically because we were on the industry working side, but we've appealed so much to the artist side too, because my God, it's hard for them. They don't have benefits, right? Even if you're a signed artist, you don't get benefits. You don't get anything. You get your fee and they hope you buy your benefits with it or whatever you need to do, I guess. But you also have all the added pressures of if you're a female, making sure you come off as available and ready to work and like super hot and skinny all the time and all the different pressures. So this is really fed into them. And we've heard everything from people feeling more encouraged to be able to bring their kids to their sets or be public about their pregnancy. I mean, even as far as, I'm very pro-choice, but even someone who decided to go through with a pregnancy because they knew there was community and they would be able to have people around to help them figure it out. So eventually we want to provide grants. That's what we're working on right now, is raising money for grant cycle so we can actually help pay for people who don't have maternity leave or need IVF or anything like that. But in the meantime, the biggest success stories is just hearing that people are able to enjoy motherhood instead of being ashamed of it.
I love this conversation so much. And I do want to be clear because currently we have an audience of over 70 countries, which is very
Wow. So
exciting. We
good.
have an international listenership, which is amazing. We're in Nashville, of course. And again, we've been in the
Oh,
country
yeah.
music together, you and I. But I want to be clear, Family Alliance in Music, it is not just country music, right? I mean, you are
No, it's
not,
everywhere.
even though you're physically located in Nashville, you are assisting and providing resources for the country and or the world. Like you mentioned international support with that Instagram thing when you all launched. So tell us a little bit about your audience. Anybody in the music industry, it's not just within the confines of Nashville, right?
No, it's definitely not. It's absolutely anybody in music worldwide. I would say, of course, we have a foothold here, but we've definitely seen a lot of support out of LA, New York. And then we have an organization that we've partnered with before in Atlanta that's doing great things, Moms in Music, and they've helped our foothold there as well. We've found we have, and we've definitely tried to open it to be as inclusive as possible, but we find really strong adoption among those trying to plan a family, those who are currently have a family, especially new parents, new dads, new moms, and then those going through fertility treatment, although it can be hard. I think some of the examples, just because they want families so bad and they're working so hard. Sometimes following our social media isn't the way, but at least we can help connect them to other people. And we always post about open IVF grant cycles, mainly in the US, but if any international listeners want to send us international grants, we'll post those too. And then last but definitely not least, this is one of the smaller known things about FAM, but we also have information and try to provide support for those taking care of family members, especially elder care, just because it is definitely one of the most unifying things about all of us. Like, we all have parents, and a lot of us will end up taking care of parents. And I know I am, but I know a lot of other people are in what we lovingly call the sandwich generation, where I have a baby on one hip and I'm helping my mom with groceries with the other hand. So it's
100%.
definitely a unique time in life.
Well, that's a wrap for today's conversation with Haley. If you enjoyed our chat, make sure you check out her website, FamilyAllianceinmusic.org. You can find links to that site along with their socials in today's show notes over at secretmomhacks.com/episode 92. I'm curious what your favorite part of our interview was. I hope you're walking away inspired with tips either for yourself or that new mom you know. If that's the case, please follow me on your favorite podcast platform if you haven't already. Give me a 5-star rating and leave a review sharing your favorite takeaway so far. You can do all of that by going to ratethispodcast.com/secretmomhacks. Don't forget to stop by secretmomhacks.com where you can find resources and enter your email address so every new episode is delivered straight to your inbox. Stay tuned for next week's episode where Haley will be rejoining us to share a cautionary tale about carbon monoxide detectors in daycares. Trust me, if you have a little one in a daycare, this is a conversation you can't miss. Until then, you've got this, Mama.